stop listening now if you don't want to meet Zach.
Today, we're talking to the person who's not just leading the Career Center with Betsy. He's mentoring students, organizing the career fair, and helping you prep for your next big opportunity. Welcome to the peer review, and welcome, Zach.
Well, thank you for having me. That's a great introduction. Oh, nice. Little
Yay.
Clap track there. That's good. I like the applause. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
We can go ahead and start with some questions about your origins, Zach.
My origin story.
So
Got
the
it.
students
Okay.
can get to know you.
Okay.
Feel free to add in whatever you like about yourself if you feel so inclined. But
Got it.
first, I was going to go ahead and ask you, what was your first job ever?
My first ever, like full-time job or?
Nope, job ever.
First job ever. I mowed a lot of lawns as a kid. Made a lot of money in my little town mowing a ton of yards.
Wow.
That was my first ever like official job where I got paid to do anything.
Got a real entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
there.
How big was your town and how much were you getting paid?
So
for this?
this was back in the early 80s, mid 80s, right? So take that into consideration when you talk about the money. So my town is about 800 people. No stoplights, no fast food restaurants. Little college town though, so tiny little place. I probably mowed 10 yards on a regular rotation, which is pretty good. And I remember making about $10 to $15 per yard.
That's pretty good. How big were these yards, though?
Some of them were huge.
Okay.
And some, it would rain a lot in West Virginia. I grew up in West Virginia, so it rained a lot there in the summers for some strange reason. And there would be times where like it would take weeks to get to a yard because it'd just be so wet. And I remember one time there was a kid who was a few years older than me. He was back from college for the summer, and I was mowing his family's yard. But it had been like 3 weeks since I could get to it. And so the grass was about like 10, 12 inches high with all the weeds and everything. So he came out and was giving me a hard time about his dog was getting lost in the backyard and why wasn't I doing my job and all that. So he and I had to, have some words first. And then I got to mow in the yard. He went back inside. He was a good friend, actually. No worries.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a very interesting job that kind of leads us into our next question.
It wasn't
here.
really all that interesting. It was just a lot of me being outside trying to get tan and making a little bit of money.
Okay.
To buy, this is totally not what you asked me about, but I was saving up to buy my first ever CD player.
Wow.
How about that?
So what year did those come out? Do you know off the top of your head?
Stone Ages?
Eons ago?
Yeah, it was eons ago. So, this would have been, probably what, 87, 88, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny to think about that. It was a one-disc CD player.
And did you get it?
Heck yeah.
All right.
Saved up money all summer. It was great.
I love it.
Awesome.
It's an old guy story. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So next question. Do you have any other interesting jobs that you want to share with us about?
Well, I've done a lot of different kinds of things. So I was a lifeguard. That was my first actual real job, was being a lifeguard at an indoor pool of all things.
Oh, I was about to say some more tanning opportunities.
No,
I guess not.
no, it wasn't. There's a lot of funny stories about that pool, but I won't share those on screen. I'll tell you offline. There's some funny people that went there. So that was my first actual job. And then I worked at a place called Block Party. So think early Dave and Buster's kind of thing.
Okay.
It was like this in Indianapolis when I was in college. It was one of these places where it was a restaurant. You had to be 21 to get in there after a certain time period because they served alcohol. But it was like an arcade, giant arcade kind of thing. So I was a busboy, worked in the back of the house, got to serve a couple of times. And the one time that I served a big party of teenage girls and their moms, first thing I did was spilled a whole tray of drinks on one of the moms, to which the girls thought was hysterical. I was petrified. Did not serve after that one, so
How
just
did the
stayed in the
tip
back.
look?
Actually, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they felt
Personality pull.
really
Right.
bad for me. I think because they recognized pretty quickly that I was inept at that job, and so they're like, "Stick to going to school, and we're gonna give you a nice tip for that." So, let's see. I was a basketball coach. I was an assistant basketball coach for high school girls team in Indianapolis for a couple years, and then took over a junior high boys team in Indianapolis for a year. Also coached a soccer team, Never played a day of soccer in my life. That's sometimes there's just needs for people. So those are some of the fun things that I did, until I got into like the professional world and got into some other things like this.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we're happy that you stumbled your way into this role.
Absolutely.
Yes. Stumble is the proper term too, because it was a circuitous route to get to where I'm at. For
Definition, please.
Definition
Yeah,
means
vocabulary.
circuitous. It means it was winding. It went around a wide range of places and different things, all sort of having. This is an interesting thing about why I kind of in the way in which I do my job is the things that I've done, the things that I'm passionate about, all sort of have this connection point, right? And so no matter what I've done, whether it was in ministry, whether it was in admissions work or graduate school work, academic advising now in career, it's all connected to people, right? I mean, it's all working with individuals, it's working with groups of people, typically young adults or youth, kind of helping people navigate, right? So anything that I've done has been that, right? And so no matter what the role specifically is, that's kind of how I just look at life, right? Is how do I help someone do what they want to do? And so that's kind of where I've gotten to here, but it's kind of been all these.
He's here to pass
routes.
on his wisdom to us, you guys.
Yes.
Well, I'm here to pass on information. Wisdom may be a bit of a stretch.
I love it. Okay, well, I mean, you kind of already hit it a little bit. Next, we were going to ask what drew you to career development. Mm-hmm. I know it was a very circuitous path.
It's a good word, isn't it?
It is.
You can
I don't
have
even know
that
if I
one.
could say it. Wait, say it again.
Circuitous. I don't even know if
Circuitous.
actually I don't know that I'm using that correctly.
No, I feel like
believe
it's
you.
right.
But
I
it's
feel like it's
pretty
right.
good.
It's definitely a word
Very
I've used for a long time.
Circuitous path.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
have to look that up for sure.
I think we have it right. I think
Okay.
we have it right.
Sounds good.
Well, it drew you to career development. Is there any specific moment where you were like, this is what I'm meant to do, or how did that happen?
I don't know if there's a specific moment. So when I went to seminary, right, to do ministry. And when I graduated from there, I ended up working in their admissions office at the seminary. And I was having tons of conversations with people, as I was helping with recruitment and stuff about vocation, about their life kind of journey. A lot of it was specific to ministry, but not always. And so that was part of what I did. And then I got a job in academic advising here at the University of Kentucky in 2005, at the end of 2005, mostly because I was just feeling called into doing something different, right? And so that position was available and opened up to me. It was specifically the thing that attracted me to it was working with then what was called undergraduate studies, which is the exploratory unit. So any student who came into the university without a major came to that department. And so I was helping students not only navigate sort of like the academic curriculum and all the core requirements and all that, but really trying to help them understand, their passions, their interests, and kind of helping them figure out what the next steps were in terms of choosing a major and career. So it's sort of part of what I just was doing, just by the nature of it. I found a lot of passion and interest in those conversations and in learning about who people are and what they like individually, as opposed to following sort of a set standard and kind of checklist, right? I mean, it's just not who I am. It's just not. You walk in my office and I say, how you doing? If you start going down a path that has nothing to do with school, I'm going to listen, right? I'm going to go into that because that's just part of relationship building, and that's what I'm about. So I think as I did that for about 10 years, I guess, and then came over into the College of Engineering in academic advising and student records and student success, helping students sort of navigate those challenges as well. And then got the opportunity just because of just because of an opening and an opportunity that I was invited to consider doing career development, working specifically with the co-ops and interns. And so I thought, that sounds great. So I'm not one who loves to do the exact same thing for very long. And thankfully, in all the roles that I've had, every day is different, every day is unique. And so even if I'm in a job for a length of time, that different pattern of conversation and all is really helpful. But in that moment, it was like, hey, this sounds really different and unique and interesting. And so I took it, and I found that it was even cooler to me than talking about like academic stuff at the moment, right? And the academic stuff is incredibly important. It's still a huge part of what I do now. But I think it was hearing stories, right, about like what you all do as engineering students and the things that you're going to be accomplishing, and having conversations that maybe push you into into certain things, to choosing to do co-ops and understanding the value of that. I think it's just been a really fulfilling kind of role, and that's how so it's not been a one specific moment, but it's just in sort of a general progression, I think.
I mean, I'd say too that it shows in the way that I remember I came into your office to have a conversation about taking my first co-op before I even really knew you. And it definitely shows that it's something that you're passionate about and really good at, because you just make conversation
Thanks.
really easy, which I'm sure people will be able to tell today. But
Well, I thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I am conversational sometimes to a fault, but there are times that appointments go much longer than they need to, because I just like learning about people. I like talking.
But half the time, that's what people need. People need
Yeah.
somebody there to listen and somebody to actually take the initiative to care about what's going on in their lives, and you do a great job at that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because that's very important to me, that people do recognize that I generally do care about you as an individual, not just about like, oh, is this a number, or is this another thing that I have to do, right? Or a statistic that I have to get, or just like, oh, okay, this is my job, right? I don't like feeling like that, so I hope people recognize that when they come to meet with me. So it's good. I appreciate you guys saying that.
Yeah. So you've talked quite a bit about relationship building and how important that is to you. Would you say that's the best part of your job? And if not, what is the best part?
So yes, simple answer, yes. When I first got hired here at UK in academic advising, they asked me what was one of the reasons why I wanted that academic advising job. And I may have told you all this. I don't know if one of the things that people learn about me pretty quickly is I have a fairly dry sense of humor that some people get, some people don't. Right? Exactly. And so group of people, like in that interview process, for those of you that are ever going to interview, get familiar with the different ways that people do things, some individual interviews, some groups. I met with 12 people in a room. And so I was very nervous, but they said, why do you want this job? And I deadpanned, and I just simple answer. I said, basketball tickets.
I mean, it's you.
And I just sat there.
nobody laughed. It was silent.
I think one or two people laughed, and thinking like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, of course not. And then I think some people took me very seriously because I sat there for a second, and I was like, no, I'm just kidding. It's it's whatever. So anyway, that's an aside story. Another thing that people will learn about me pretty quickly is I have a lot of tangents.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, back to the question. So is relationships the most important? Yes, 100%. Because ultimately for me, having a relationship with you helps me understand who you are and what you need, right? Because if I look at everybody as just sort of, okay, you come into my office, tell me what you need, tell me what you want, and then that's it. It's a one-time thing. I may not be helping you longer term. Like in the moment, it might be very helpful, but in general, it may not be longer term. And what I would like, and I'm not perfect at this by any stretch, and there's always ways to get better. I mean, there's a lot of students, but if I can develop a relationship, at least knowing about you a little more, it's only going to benefit you, right? And it benefits me because it makes my job more fun, but it also makes it more interesting and easier to do.
Right.
If you walk in the office and I'm like, it's the first time I've ever seen you, my hope is you're open to that relationship just as much as I am. Some are, some aren't, and I have to understand that. But it's just part of the process. But it definitely is something that I think is not just the thing that I enjoy the most, but I think it's critical to the work we do. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think, you pretty much covered too why you enjoy working with students and that as well.
Students are, like college students specifically, I don't know. I just think that you all are in a moment where you both have everything in front of you and going for you, but also need the most, which sounds positive, negative, and it's not. I think it's all of the above. I think that there's that moment when you come to college where everyone's around you telling you, oh, here's all the resources, here's all the support, here's all the people that you have and you're available to you. But the support network that you've always had moving forward is no longer there, right? I mean, even if you live here in town, it's not right next to you. They're not telling you every moment of the day, here's what you're supposed to do, here's how you're supposed to do it, and here's the reminder of all of those things, right? Your support network sort of dissipates, right? You come to college and we all go, those of us that work here say, oh, but we're all here for you, and but you have to take the step to find those resources and to utilize that support. And so I think it's really, really important for students specifically to know that those people exist, but also that they can access them, that we're not scary, sort of, and that we're useful, right? I mean, the worst thing you could do is understand that you work with students and then treat them either like children or like full-fledged adults. And I think college students are in a unique position where they're not either, right? You're learning how to be an adult. There are moments when you have to be adulting, but for the most part, you're also not children. Even if I, make the mistake of saying kids every so often, right? Because I'm old. But I think it's just important for people to understand who work with college students what college students are all about and what they're like. And to me, college students are incredibly odd, incredibly fun, because you're learning so fast, right? I mean, if you think about it in terms of like, if you ever look at little tiny kids, pre-K kids, right? They learn things like at lightning speed, right? When kids are little, they learn things at lightning speed. I mean, every day is something new. I think the same is true for you all, right? For college students, because it's every day you're being taught something new, and you're being taught at such an incredible pace, especially in engineering. My gosh, you guys are ridiculous at how fast you have to learn stuff and how important things are, right? So for me, understanding who you are is critically important, but also a lot of fun, because then I also then get to hear all the cool stories, right? And the things that you celebrate and celebrate with you when you have these accomplishments, and help you through the struggles as well, because that's part of it, right? That's part of life. And so it's just something that I've always enjoyed. Sorry, I mean, you told me to be myself.
I'm loving it.
I love it too.
I'm a little long-winded. Sorry, folks.
It's only
You
natural.
brought up some great points there, and I think, like you said, like when we're in college, there's a lot of like growing up to do. We have to build confidence in ourselves and in our abilities. We have to learn how to advocate for ourselves, and having faculty like you who are willing to advocate for us as well is a great representation of how to do that going forward.
Well, think about, you mentioned the advocate for yourself part. I mean, that is a huge learning thing, right? I mean, when was the last time you had to advocate for self prior to coming to college? Can you think of a time like that you had to do that?
When I wanted to go to pick which school I was going to go to college, probably.
Yeah.
It was right before leading up to it.
Right. And so now, but you had a sounding board, right? You had to go through and have all these conversations, and there were all these factors that went into it that were really on somebody else's shoulders still, right? Now, what about a time that you've advocated for yourself here?
I mean, all the time, especially in searching for jobs and things like that. Like whenever you're in a co-op or an internship, there's a ton of advocating for yourself and making sure that your voice gets heard when it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. And think of then how that translates into the job world, right? You're going to have to advocate for yourself every day in making sure that what you need to get the job done right, the things that other people need to get their job done right, that you're clear about how to communicate, what's in your best interest or in the company's best interest based on the work you do, right? So, I mean, everything kind of moves forward and progresses in that way. And it starts with understanding who you are, what you care about, what your value structure is, which is, again, back to the relationship piece for me, but for you all, understanding how to advocate for the things that you need, right? And that, I mean, in the simplistic, that comes from an interview process or in a job negotiation, right? Or a salary negotiation. But from a day-to-day task, it's the same thing. It's helping you to understand, look, this is ultimately about your own satisfaction and fulfillment, getting the job done that you're being asked to do. So advocating for self is a huge thing. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. I think we have one more question
'Kay.
for you as part of your introduction, and it is
It's the world's longest introduction.
Yes.
It's like the greatest bio statement in the history of the world.
If you could go back and give college you one piece of advice, what would it be?
Go abroad. Study abroad. That is the one thing that I for whatever reason, there were two things I wanted to do going into college. Along the lines of not coaching basketball or taking classes. I wanted to study abroad, and I wanted to do the Disney college program. My sister had done the college program, loved it. I was like, oh, that's 100% me. And I chose not to do either of them. Don't know why. Well, I know why, but it didn't make any sense, right, to not do it. And I kick myself for it regularly for not taking advantage of it, because especially the study abroad. I knew lots of people who were going to different places, having these incredible experiences, these cultural, opportunities that shape who you are as a person, your worldview. Until I got out of college, I hadn't left the Midwest. I mean, I traveled to like California for a week, but that's it, right? I mean, I had no cultural experience outside of my little environment, right? And I just think it's so important. And I would love to tell myself, hey, like, listen to your own self and go do this, because you have all the opportunities and resources there at where I was in school, and I had plenty of time. I mean, my gosh, I changed my major the month before my senior year in college, and why wouldn't I have just said, hey, you know what I should do? Take a break, go study abroad somewhere and figure this out. But I didn't, and that'd be the one thing I would tell myself for sure.
I think that's great advice. I'm not even graduated yet, and I would say the same thing. I'm going to graduate without having studied abroad, and that would have been a great experience.
I'm going to say the same. I didn't get to be like abroad for a whole semester. I guess my way of like getting around that was by doing research that allowed me to go on international trips, whether that be for like a conference in New Zealand or like doing research in Zimbabwe, which was awesome. That was really important to me to go different places, but I do wish that it could have been for more of an extended period of time instead of just like a couple weeks. I think that the longer you're really immersed somewhere, the more impactful it is. So
absolutely,
I would agree with that recommendation.
Yep. You don't get as much from, a one-day stop off at a cruise, right? You don't get a whole lot of cultural immersion in that regard.
Yeah, not at all. You might get some good food, but
you might, or some merch or something, but like that's about it. Yeah. I don't even have hair to braid, so I mean, I can't even go like on the ports to do that. So.
All right. Well, I think that was an amazing introduction, Zach.
And now to the topic at hand. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's half of the topic.
It is. It's half of what we have planned for today. Honestly, the rest of it is just a fun little game that we set up called Hot Takes.
Hot Takes.
So.